Hey guys, so I get this question quite a bit. It's talking about which method should I use for printing shirts and whatnot to get started. And there's kind of three big and main methods, and that is DTG, and that's direct to garment printing. There's vinyl transfer, and then there's screen printing, and I'll explain each one. And then I'll give you like an overview of which one I use and why. So the first thing we're going to start out with is DTG. That's direct to garment printing, right? So direct to garment, and it's called that because that's what happens when you use this method. So you have like a big printer here, and you have your t-shirt right here, right? That type of t-shirt, and it just goes through a printer and it prints here's the shirt, prints the ink. There's an ink drop directly onto the shirt, right? With screen printing, you have like a mesh, right? This is the screen, and the ink is going through the screen, and like certain parts of the screen are not, there's no holes in it, you know, for the ink to go through. So that's how you get the color separation, right? So this method is, I think this is like the second cheapest method. So vinyl transfer is 1, 2, and then screen printing is the third cheapest. But with direct to garment printing, if you had a printer, they're very expensive. They're like these huge big printers. If you had a printer, you could make a lot of t-shirts, you know, with it. And if you invested that money up front, you would get a good return. It's good for printing really intricate photographs. So intricate photos. You can print photographs with screen printing, obviously, and with vinyl transfer. But with direct to garment, you can get like, if you're using like thousands of colors, or like just so many colors, this is the best method to go with. Like screen printing, you're being charged for every screen you use, so each color is a screen, right? And if you're using like 8 colors, that's a huge cost up front to do screen printing, and you'd have to have a run of like 1,000 shirts or something like that, like a lot of shirts for it to be worth it, right? If you're a small brand, having that many screens is pretty difficult no matter which service you go with. Like there's thousands of screen printers across the country. Well, I live in America, so I'm talking about that. So that's what it works with. And that's why if you're specifically printing like a really intricate photograph, it could be a good idea to use direct to garment printing. However, the DTG is not as durable. And I remember one time when I was younger, I bought a t-shirt and it was kind of expensive, and it was a really cool t-shirt because it was like a photograph and it looked so cool. But when I got it, I was slightly disappointed because it wasn't screen printed, so it didn't have like that feel to it, you know? There's no 3D effect, so no feel. And a lot of people do like that. A lot of people liked when the ink is popping off the shirt or the hoodie, right? And that's what screen printing does. But you don't get that effect with direct to garment, you know? It's that's just how it works. I also think that, like, if I had a direct to garment printer, I would use it for mock-ups and for test pieces. This is a good way to take a photo of a product that you're thinking of releasing, you know, and showing it to the audience to see whether they like it or not, to gauge interest. Because let's say that you thought of a product and it's like, you think it's the coolest thing ever, but then you show your audience and they don't really like it, or they're just not into it for some reason, then you, instead of like printing like 100 t-shirts or 500 t-shirts, right, and you spent all this money, you could have had a direct to garment printer or vinyl transfer and done a mock-up like that. So people can see if it would be a viable product to release, you know, like if they like it or not. And then you can gauge the level of interest and how many you want to print. Like, let's say like maybe only half your audience really liked it, so then you print less. Let's say more liked it, you print more, right? So this is like a good thing to have or to use if you want to see if you can release a new product or make a mock-up, you know, and kind of tease the audience. And also you can make one to run ads, you know, and see what other people think around the world that aren't following your brand. So that's a good method to use. This is also a newer method. In the past, these two are older because technology has been changing, you know, they have all these crazy printers and stuff, and that's a newer thing. I remember my boss, so the cool thing about direct to garment is that it's very just in time. And he taught me that concept about just in time manufacturing, where you create the product as the customer orders it when there's demand. You don't create it before. However, and I explained this before, with a clothing brand, this is kind of a difficult situation, and it's not really feasible because if you're aiming for higher quality, you want to screen print, right? But you can't screen print one shirt at a time as a customer orders it. You know, it just doesn't work like that. It's not feasible, whether you did it yourself or whether you hired a company, because the setup times and doing all of that wouldn't really work out well. You could do it in smaller batches. That way you're decreasing inventory. Like if I had another person here like full-time screen printing and we had a crazy setup going, like that would be ideal. You know, I could print smaller runs of things, and as demand comes in, we could make more, you know what I mean? Like that would be something interesting to try to do in the future. You know, I'm always thinking of crazy things like that, but that's just what happens. Direct to garment is definitely just in time, and that's a good thing. A lot of print on demand services use direct to garment printing, and the thing about this is that it's kind of, it looks too cheap and it doesn't really help your brand out. So it looks cheap, and really you're trying to aim for quality. Quality can cost a lot to manufacture and whatnot, but in my opinion, and from what I've seen in my own purchase decisions, I'm sure you guys have noticed this too, the customer, the price comes second to the quality, right? So people in general would rather pay a little bit more to get quality, and when they receive the product, they enjoy, you know, the cost is secondary to them, right? A lot of times people are wired that way because, for instance, like coffee is really expensive, and I like going to coffee shops. I don't care that much about the price if I get the coffee and I really enjoy it. Like I'm sitting there in the morning, I'm just drinking it, I'm just like, oh, this is so good. Like I'm not thinking about the price, to be honest. I'm thinking about the quality. If the price is expensive and the quality is not there, then it's flipped around, and now you have like a bad situation, right? Bad quality and a high cost, that's like total no repeat customers, right? So another point with the direct to garment that's kind of cool. So I think you could use both screen printing and direct to garment in a sense. You could print a really intricate photograph, and that would cost too much to screen print. But then let's say you had like text and stuff, you could layer text onto it that is screen printed. It could be slightly complicated to make sure everything's arranged, but that could be something that you could do, like mix the two. I've seen that before. People have an image printed, but then they have text and other graphic elements that are screen printed around it, and it looks kind of cool because it's like a 3D effect and then a flat effect, so the shirt design can look cool. That's just one other thing. And now we go into vinyl transfer. This is the cheapest method, but here's the trade-off. And this is like a life thing. You're always, and I've just recently, this has stuck so hard in my mind. You're always having trade-offs, whatever you do in life, you know? If you do this thing, but then this thing happens, right? This is the cheapest method, but this is also the worst quality. it's not durable, really. It's not durable compared to screen printing. So screen printing will last much longer. With vinyl transfer, especially if you use bad quality vinyl or your process is bad, you could be making stuff, and then what happens is as time goes on, you wash the garment, the vinyl can peel, and that's like a really bad thing. That's happened to me before. I bought stuff. Like sometimes they print like gym bags and outdoor bags. They like vinyl press stuff onto it when they manufacture it, and then like over a couple of years, it would like peel off. And I'm sure you guys have noticed that before when you buy items like that. That happens, you know. Vinyl transfer also is slightly 3D, but still not as quite as screen printing, you know. You also have like a full color range with this. Kind of like direct to garment, you can basically print any color or design on there, and you're not worrying about the cost of screens. The other cool thing about vinyl transfer is that there are certain applications where I feel like it's the best method. So when I got into clothing and when I started the business, actually before, I had a friend and he made baby products. Like he sold baby onesies and all this stuff. And he hired me and I would make designs for him. Then he would print them out because he had a big vinyl printer, and then he would heat press them and he would sell them on Amazon. He was very successful doing that. He's still doing that, and he has a warehouse and all this stuff. He's actually one of the big reasons how I got started and stuff, and you know, he'd give me advice and whatnot. And this is like a long time ago. Now that I think about it, I need to catch up with him again, you know, because he's just insanely smart and he knows e-commerce and all this stuff. So in that specific application, I thought it was a smarter idea to do that, and it was the most cost effective because when you have a child, a baby, they're outgrowing their like clothes so fast that the durability of it doesn't matter that much because the product matches the quality of it. So what I mean by that is people don't need to be washing those garments for years and years and years and expecting them to hold up because their baby's gonna outgrow them, but they can still have a cool design on it that's economical, and so both parties win, I guess, in the end of the day, which is cool. So with vinyl transfer, there are select applications that work for it. I think you could get away with using it on stuff that's not being washed as much, you know, like bags and whatnot, because it still will last a certain amount of years, maybe, if you do it right. In my opinion, though, having vinyl press t-shirts and all that, it's not really a good thing to do because they don't last as long and the quality is not there. So quality and so this is the biggest thing that I want for you guys to learn from this is out of all these methods, you're trying to aim for quality, and that's why I left screen printing for last, because screen printing is the most expensive, but that's really like, it's not that crazy expensive to screen print things. It's the best quality, you know. Like I said earlier, the downside of screen printing is that you have to order a certain amount of quantity for it to be profitable. So it's not just in time, and that's the thing. So you have to, when I started out, I had to order a certain amount where I would still make profit or break even. I think that when you're starting out, if you break even and you're growing the brand, that's good. That's not a bad thing because you're expanding the brand. And people might be wondering, oh, that's stupid advice. But you know, when Amazon started out, they were not profitable for like a really long time, because Jeff Bezos, and he's like insanely smart. Like, there's a lot of bad things to say about him, but like honestly, you guys should study the way he thinks and the way he runs Amazon, because there's a lot of good stuff to take out of it. He was losing a lot of money up front, and it wasn't even like breaking even. It was like a loss, actually. They were like losing money with the company because he was investing in the quality and the systems and reinvesting back into the business. He was basically losing out on the front to gain market share and like basically take over all these businesses, right? Because other people, they are too focused on profiting and they're not looking at the bigger picture. So honestly, if you're starting out, you should go more towards quality. And if you're making a tiny profit or you're breaking even, it doesn't matter, because you really just want to keep growing the brand and growing the audience. I would say, honestly, for my first like year and a half, I was breaking even or just making a slight profit. That's also why you should just have another job that you go to, like a full-time job, because you can use money from that to pump into your business and keep it growing, right? In my opinion, don't really expect to make a ton of money up front. If you're starting a clothing brand, if that's really what you want to do and you're like serious about it, if you're like, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, no one's funding you, you don't have investors, you don't have a lot of capital up front, you're just completely starting out with zero, this is the way to go. And just be patient, go on your day job. When you come home from work on your business, or like me, get up early and work on it, right? And just keep reinvesting the profits back into it, and don't really expect to make much money at first, unless something happens and you go viral and your business explodes. But honestly, it takes about 3 to 5 years for a business to really flourish and to get exponential growth, and I'm like 3.5 years in right now. Well, not almost 3.5. So right now it's picking up more, which is good, and I'm excited to see where that heads, but I'm still like, I almost overspend on my card every month, because I'm like building up the systems in my business and doing all these crazy things. I am gonna buy a vinyl printer actually next year in 2021, and that's gonna be a crazy expense, but it doesn't matter, because I can take it and keep reinvesting back into it to grow. That was a big tangent, but it really relates to this. You want to aim for quality, right? Screen printing is also, it's as easy as doing all these methods, but it does take longer. So with screen printing, you're gonna have a wait of 1 to 3 weeks to get your items. And in our culture right now, people our age have no patience at all. Like, if you can master patience and you want to do a clothing brand, that's huge. So make sure you get that down. So it does take longer, which is kind of a problem sometimes. So especially if they get backed up right now. I've had this issue where I'm expecting an order of shirts and hoodies and stuff, and it doesn't come in because they don't finish, because the process takes longer, and then like a drop date is scheduled a little bit later, or it turns into a pre-order, which I don't like, because I like it when I'm able to ship out right away, the same or next day, because I have the product, right? So it takes longer. These two are like instant, which is cool. There's more, with screen printing, there's more margin for error. So what I mean by that is, if you print one shirt with vinyl transfer or direct to garment, you can see it, instantly fix it. With screen printing, they can print a whole batch of shirts, and you might have had a miscommunication and something was printed wrong, or also when they manufacture things, oftentimes they can mess up. Sometimes I'll show you what I mean. So over here in one of my shelves, I have a reject pile, and I keep all these. So like for instance, you can't really tell on this one, but this print is a little bit too smudged for me, like the ink kind of all bled in together, so I didn't put this product on my store because of that, even though I feel like some of you might still want to buy it, you know, but that is like an example. There's more margin of error with screen printing, and there's less with vinyl transfer and direct to garment, you know. And also with the screen printing, you have to be really, you have to have a good relationship with your screen printer and have them know what you want. So that's a really important thing, like have a relationship. Yeah, that's like a huge thing. So I have a business relationship with my screen printers, and they know that I expect like good quality. Like they're not going to get away with giving me a bad batch of shirts. People always ask me, oh, where do you get stuff printed? It honestly doesn't matter where you get it printed, because in your city, there's probably 1 or 2 screen printers, or in your town, you know, like if you live in California, there's tons of them, like tons and tons. Even in Bellingham, where that's where I get my stuff printed, there's probably like 6 screen printers, and they are all decent, all good. I've used other screen printers before. Try one and then find another and try them, and then find another. Pick one that you really like, and if you really vibe with them, I don't really like using that word, but it really fits what I'm trying to say. Like if you guys work pretty good, work on that relationship and develop it, and you know, have them kind of understand what you're looking for. So for instance, with my screen printers, they like kind of a big thing that I'm big on and I'm a stickler for, and I'm always trying to do it, is like I want, so you can see on here, I want text to always be like right at chest. So right here's my chest, right at the chest. Some screen printers, they print like too high, you know, almost to the collar, and it's kind of weird, you know. Even this could be lower just a slight bit, but that's just my aesthetic thing that I want to do. So my screen printers know that I want stuff printed a certain way, you know, like usually I get stuff printed about 4 fingers down, and sometimes they would print higher for other clients, you know, but you know, they know I have that expectation, right? And another thing, like it's little nuances, you know, and if you develop a relationship, you get to kind of understand each other and what you're trying to do. I'm also like, sometimes if they're in a rush, like they know it's better for them to take their time and print something better rather than get the product to me. I'd rather wait a couple more days to get a quality product than get something that's rushed and could have more errors, you know? So that's like a thing that you guys can do and I recommend. So screen printing is also kind of the most durable. Here's another point. And it is the most 3D. Even with screen printing, you have a method called puff printing, and it has it so the garment is actually like more 3D. The print is like popping out. It's hard to explain exactly the method they use to do that, but it's really cool, and you can feel it. It's like really textured. Even this hoodie, there's 2 layers of white ink on here, and you could actually feel it. You can't feel that with direct to garment. And vinyl transfer, you can kind of feel it because it's like a smooth, so with vinyl transfer, you have, here's the t-shirt, and here's the piece of vinyl right there. It's like slightly raised right there, you know, like you can still feel it. There's like an edge to it. But yeah, in my opinion, if you're starting a brand, you want to be screen printing, and there's other variations of screen printing too, like the method you want. There's screen printing that is actually more like direct to garment. It's not as 3D, because some situations you want to do that, and I'll show you I don't have it with me, but when I made the state issued uniform shirt, it was a different kind of printing process, but it was still screen printing, and it wasn't 3D because I didn't want that for that specific shirt. So go look up there's a lot of what kind of printing, like systems there are for that, and you can find out which one works for you. But in general, like screen printing, you're going to be using like plastisol ink, and that's just layered on top of the garment, right? It's sitting on top, and it's not really that crazy expensive to get stuff printed, you know. Basically, you just have to transfer that cost over to the customer, and you know, because you have to make profit, and the customer has to realize that, and you have to show them value. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to run a brand and make stuff, right? You want to make cool stuff and sell it. So that's just what happens. And typically, the more you print, the cheaper it is. So I write that right here. More you print equals cheaper. So what I mean by that is it's not cheaper like the entire cost, it's cheaper per shirt. So each shirt, if you sell a shirt, you're getting more profit margin. That's what you want. So the cool thing is, and like I said in the beginning, you're probably not making that much profit, or you're breaking even. That's fine. Don't worry about that. You want to get to this point. You want to get to, you're getting hundreds and hundreds of orders, thousands of orders, and your profit margin's higher, right? But you're not charging the customer more, which is cool, because when you have a set price in your business, you want to figure out ways to cut back on costs. That way you're making more profit margin, but the customer is not being charged more. And that's why I kind of explained this in my other videos. I mentioned about lean and understanding like the lean methodology, because when you do lean, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to make more profit margin. That's a byproduct of doing that and operating your business in that way. But anyways, this video is pretty long, but here are the 3 methods. There's DTG, direct to garment. There's vinyl transfer. This is also called heat press, because you're using a heat press for that. I didn't really explain it, but that's how you make it. You print out the vinyl and then you heat press it onto the shirt. So you do need 2 pieces of equipment. And then you also have screen printing. And in my opinion, and what I use is screen printing. That's what you should use, the best quality, most durable, and you know, overall your customers will like that more. So there's the 3 main methods of printing t-shirts, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks guys.